paddle, but that'll do for now. We want to make, this is an equipable item, right? So it's something that we can touch, and when it receives a touch message, it's going to auto-equip itself. How do we connect that? In the is touchable, in the first callback, we are going to say equip. So it's going to try and equip itself. And the implementation of equip is going to be in the is equipable script. The item is looking for an open hand slot, and we have already gone through our hero and given it a couple is equip slots that are of type hand slot. So there is a potential slot for it to go into, which is good. So if we find one, we're going to put it in there. And we need to implement equip. Questions? So far, so good? Okay. So we're implementing equip. So what are we going to look for? We need to search through the hierarchy of something and find a bunch of somethings. The bunch of somethings we're going to look for is what? Yeah, we're going to look for all slots on the recipient and see if there is an open one of type slot type that matches our slot type. What? Because we've set this to hand, because this our item, this specific instance of an item is a hand slot. We're going to look for all the slots in the guy and see if there's an open hand slot, because we don't want to put a hand, we don't want to put a sword in his mouth, and we don't want to put a hat on his foot. So let's do that. Let's be a little bit more error checking here. Let's get recipient and check it. Just if we have a recipient. There's no reason why we shouldn't if we've updated is touchable, but this is good practice. Debug.log is equip slot equip error recipient is null. So we can know what happens if we get an exception, okay? But if that's null, that means we had a recipient, so we can get all the slots off the recipient, which is recipient REC dot. How do we get all the components in children of type is equip slot? Get components in children is pretty self-documenting. Thank you, Unity, for that. Get components in children is equip slot. So let's find all the slots. And now we're going to search for an open one, open slot that matches our slot type. For each what? Is equip slot yes. Hey. Yes. Please. Why is it auto-completing like that? In slots. How do we check if they match? We're not checking by name. We're checking, because we don't care about this, the name of a particular item at this point. We might. There might be like, that might be how we do left-handed specific or right-handed specific. We just want to look for the first slot that matches. So what does it mean to match?
Look for the slot type.
Yep. And we need to see if it's actually empty. We had an OBJ on there, didn't we? In our isEquip slot? Yeah, OBJ right there. So if the object is null, slot the item if the slot is empty. How are we gonna, what does it mean to attach our item? How do you attach an object to an object? let's say really simply, if this is the game object that has the item, how do we, parent something so that it always kind of seems attached without doing too much code? It's a simple way of doing that.
Set position as the particular slot.
We could have some code that like gets the world position of this, and then it sets this guy's position to that position, and we could do that sort of in the software. Is there a way we can use the hierarchy to do that?
Just make it a child.
We'll try with get child. We'll see how it looks. So we're gonna say what? How do we do that?
You can
This is equipable. This is the actual game object, right? So this is the game object of transform
transform dot set
parent.
parent. Or maybe it's just parent. It's something like that.
What is it? We want to set the parent transform to this transform. Let's save it. Maybe my Unity's a little bit confused.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not coming up here, but it's coming up for me.
Should autocomplete. Because something doesn't compile. Syntax error, bad array declarator. Square brackets go in front of the variable name. Better. Get components. Does that compile better? Unity.gameObject does not contain a definition for get components in Chidron. That's funny. I once worked on a system that actually supported common spelling mistakes, and they just implemented like 10, 15 variations on all possible functions that were commonly misspelled, and it assumed you meant the version that it was closely matched the real version. I don't know that that's a good practice, but it was a long time ago. Okay. Yeah. So here we go. This dot game object dot transform dot parent equals, what game object is my parent supposed to be? Right. So where is that in terms of the code here? How do I get hand? Hey, let's see. It's complaining about the mixin.name is masking gameObject.name. We're gonna have to probably at some point change our mixin.name lowercase n to mixin.name uppercase n just to get that warning to go away. Or it may end up being an issue, but it's not an issue right now, but it could be soon. Okay, going back over here. Let's go to our game. Let's walk and see what happens. Doink. Is it attached? It is attached. It's not in the correct spot. What do we have to do? What do we forget to do? We've seen this problem before. Something about position, right? Because when an object is in the hierarchy of another game object, what does it mean? What does that mean about its position? What coordinates is its position actually in?
Relative to its parent.
Right. So what do we want to do?
We want to set the position equal to the hand. So set the position equal to the IDS by game object definition.
We do. And relative to that guy's position, there is a coordinate that puts it right at the same spot. Is it position or local position we want to set?
Local position.
Zeroing the position means put it at origin of the parent. right? We want it to be at the same spot as the parent bone. Maybe that's not exactly what we'll want to do in the future. Maybe we'll want to offset it a little bit. And when we look at inverse kinematics and like positioning hand bones and things and with handles and targets, we'll extend that. But for now, we want it to just be glued to the bone that has the slot. Let's see if that helps. With any luck, we should see pop. What do you think? It's pretty sweet. Is that right? Is it? Do we need this rigid body on here? Let's see. Did it even work? There we go. He's flying away. Let's fix that. Are we tired of that yet? Let's fix that. There we go. So what do we think? It kind of looks like a hammer, but it's attached, right? Correct? And he still punches, and when he punches, boom. Is that what we want it to do?
Yeah.
So here's our action. Prior to picking up the flower, he would do that punch. Now that we've attached it, it's equipped. He kind of does something. Not bad. I think we want to probably do something a little bit more. When you in the real game in Smash Bros, when you pick up the flower. Well, prior to picking up the flower, when you press punch, what does Mario do? He does like a haymaker or something, right? He does some kind of a hands-free melee attack. When you pick up the flower, and then he's holding it, and you press punch, what does he do?
Shoots the fire.
The fire, something comes out of the flower. And does he do the animation still? No. So we want the item to tell the guy who picked it up, hey, don't do that punch anymore when you do your action. Instead, I'm going to answer. I'm going to shoot projectiles. So which part do you want to do first? The animation override or the projectile? Let's do the projectile. So this game object can shoot projectiles. There's some aspect to its behavior that describes the fact that it can shoot projectiles. What should we call that? Is a projectile source? We're going to need something that is a projectile, which is like an actual fireball, but we're also going to need something that can spawn fireballs. And we need a word for that aspect.
Projectile launcher.
Is projectile launcher? Is there anything, are we going to want to launch things that are not projectiles in our game? Are we going to want to launch enemies? We're going to want to spawn things that are not projectiles, like other objects.
Or at least, or different types of projectiles.
We're going to want to spawn different types of projectiles. We're going to want to spawn projectiles too. So maybe in the most generic case, we're going to say it's a spawner. And then the projectile is the thing that gets spawned, and the projectile will say, I'm a projectile, I know I need to behave like a fire flower. I'm going to bounce on the ground and go towards you and do damage to you when I hit the enemy. Or I'm going to be whatever.